Where can you find gourmet organic coffees, a friendly hometown atmosphere, and beautiful views of Humboldt Bay and beyond? It's Has Beans Cafe, open every day at 2nd and I Street in the heart of Old Town Eureka. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This is Charles Douglas of the Humboldt Sentinel here at the Access Humboldt Media Center in Eureka. This is episode 17 of Sentinel Interviews, and this week I'm speaking with two members, the president and past president of the Humboldt County chapter of Baka, Bikers Against Child Abuse. These gentlemen come from different backgrounds. One's a former police officer, the other one's a social worker, but they're both in the biker community, and they're both united in their efforts to combat child abuse in Humboldt County. Last month, April, was Child Abuse Prevention Month, and these gentlemen go into great detail on the work of their club, Baka, in combating child abuse and trying to bring folks together to heighten the awareness in our community about violence that occurs in the home. Please do tune into Sentinel Interviews. Remember, we're on Channel 12 every Thursday at 7 o'clock and replaying every Sunday at 3:30 and Wednesday at 5:30. And also audio broadcasts of this interview are playing on Blue Ox Radio, 97.7 FM. You can also tune into these interviews on demand at any time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Humboldt Sentinel.
Just to find the rainbow's end and some love that we'll send. We'll learn from each other. We're all sisters and brothers. A teacher's care and a family's heart. This is where ideas start.
All right, Bikers Against Child Abuse. Thank you so much for coming down to Has Beans Cafe today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, WR and Dawg, you are past president and president, am I correct, of BACA?
Baka, correct?
Yes, of the Humboldt chapter.
That's a Humboldt chapter of Bikers Against Child Abuse. Let the folks at home and on the internet know, what is BACA all about?
Well, actually, I'd like to read our mission statement, if I could.
Sure.
Bikers Against Child Abuse exists with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children. We exist as a body of bikers to empower children not to feel afraid of the world in which they live. We stand ready to lend support to our wounded friends by involving them in an established, united organization. We work in conjunction with local and state officials who are already in place to protect children. We desire to send a clear message to all who are involved with the abused child that this child is part of our organization, and that we are prepared to lend our physical and emotional support to them. We stand at the ready to shield these children from further abuse. We do not condone violence or the use of violence or physical force in any manner. However, if we are the only obstacle preventing a child from further abuse, we stand ready to be that obstacle.
So basically, you are the line of defense between the victim and the perpetrator of violence against children.
Well, we are here to empower children. Ideally, we would like to empower the child so the child does not feel afraid. Not so much if we need to be that line of defense, we can be, but our ultimate goal is to support these children and get them to the point that they no longer feel afraid of their abuser and can get past what happened.
Yeah, we'd like to be able to have the children stand up for themselves. We don't want to stand in front of them. We want to stand behind them so they know that somebody's supporting them. Everybody would like to get in the way of whoever's abusing a child and be the one that protects them, but the children need to learn to stand up for themselves. And that's what we want to do.
So you're no shrinking violence, but you're not aggressive. You're not looking to start a fight, but you will defend the children.
No, that's correct. We never want to start any fights. That's just not what we want to do. We fought for years to get by the biker thug mentality, and we want to show the public and the people that that's not what we're all about. Generally, by the time we get involved with the children, they've been in the court system for a long time. And if you've ever been in our county courthouse, you notice how narrow the area is where you have to stand and wait to go to court. Consider yourself a little 8 or 9-year-old child that's been abused, and you're out in that courtroom out there, all the friends and family of the abuser are there, and they're all glaring at you, and you're standing there having to look at them. The kids get intimidated. Well, what we do is we show up in courtroom. We'll be there to stand by them. You know, it's really easy to intimidate a child. I don't intimidate easy. The children understand that, and they know that. You know, with the kids in the court system, the only time they see the police or the district attorney is when they're in trouble. So they accuse the police and the district attorneys with that. Or they see us all the time. We're not just something that comes into their lives only when they're hurt or only when they're in trouble. They see us writing, they see us all the time. We're something that comes out of their life that they are familiar with. And they take strength from that.
And I was reading on your guys' website that you actually assigned 2 of your organization's members to be liaisons with each child who does become basically a member of BACA.
Yes. The 2 closest people geographically to a child will become their primary contacts. They're given the phone numbers of those contacts, and they can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if they call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and they're afraid, we roll. We go to their house, and if we need to, we'll camp out in their front yard until the problem's taken care of, until they're not afraid. If we can't do it with just our own chapter, we'll call on other chapters throughout the state to come up and back us up. We've ridden down to Central and Southern California to support other chapters in dealing with abused kids, and they'll come up here to Humboldt County to back us up. All we have to do is ask them.
So BACA is not just a Humboldt County thing, it's really a nationwide organization.
It's actually an international organization now. We're in about 38 states, and we're in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Italy, and I believe we're breaking into the Netherlands also.
And so, without naming names, what kind of, shall we say, more intense incidents have you guys had to witness, have had to deal with in your time in BACA?
We've had instances where the perpetrator, who was a family member, personally, the one I was on, showed up and tried to take the child back, abduct the child from the mother. And we ended up getting the call. We went over there and stood by until local law enforcement showed up. Actually had a restraining order, the mother did, that she wanted to serve on the father, the perpetrator in this case. And actually, with law enforcement there, we were actually able to get him served and get him down the road without him being able to take the child and leave the area. But normally, the reality is that when you're dealing with someone who would abuse a child, they're cowards. They're not going to face up to an adult. It has nothing to do with saying, you know, yeah, we're big, we're tough, this or that. The reality is that all you have to do is be an adult and tell them, no, you're not doing this, and they're going to back down. Because they are cowards. Anyone that would purposely go after and harm a child, whether it be physically or sexually, is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they're scum. They don't even deserve to breathe there.
And talking about the psychology, yeah, it's not somebody who's you know, down at the bar on the Saturday night looking to pick a fight. Or you're talking about somebody who's picking out a victim who really is defenseless.
Absolutely.
Now I understand there's members of your organization that have experience in social services as folks who deal on, I don't want to say an above board basis, but in a more governmental, a more day-to-day 9-to-5 job sort of manner with these sort of issues of social services and the services that kids need.
Yes, that's correct. One of our members has a master's in social work. She works for the Humboldt County. I myself graduated from Humboldt State in social work and worked in the social work services. I worked for quite a while at it. So we encompass all types of people at work. It's not just, you know, a narrow band of different type of occupations that we have.
Right, I retired actually after 18 years of law enforcement here in Humboldt County. So I had the distinction of being able to kind of see it firsthand out in the field as part of my job, and that was actually one of the reasons that actually drove me into joining Bikers Against Child Abuse. One of the reasons that Baka is around nationally is that we're here to fill the gaps in the system. The systems that we have in place, I think they're pretty good. Social services and the different groups that are here to help children, we have a pretty good system, but it's not perfect, and there are gaps in that, and that's where Baka steps in. We will provide counseling to a child if they need it. Like I said before, we'll go to their house to support them physically, just to be there so they don't have to be afraid. When they come to court, we'll pick them up and take them to court if they want. Everything we do is with the parent and guardian's permission, by the way. But basically, we're there for them. A lot of these kids, they don't have anyone. They don't have anyone that's been there for them solid in their life. Everyone's always lied to them. Maybe they come from a broken home, and we do what we say. We tell that kid we're going to be there, we're going to be there.
And you mentioned the kind of gaps in the system you've confronted in your career in law enforcement. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, for instance, you could have a child that they were abused. Their case is going through the criminal justice system, and because that child is afraid or feeling pressure from home or something, they won't testify. Could be because the case stalls and doesn't go anywhere, that child may not be able to receive counseling or some of the therapeutic aids that they may need to help them get down the road. We will step in and actually cover the cost of that. There's just, you know, anyone who's ever been through the criminal justice system on any level can tell you that there's gaps there where, you know, people just fall through the cracks, and we, you know, when it comes to the children, we try to stop that. We just want to build these people up so that we can stop the cycle of violence that's in their life.
I'm so excited. My mom is like the general manager.
And as far as that cycle of violence, I mean, without getting too metaphysical, where do you think that this comes from, this epidemic of child abuse I think we've been seeing for the last few decades here in the United States and really across the Western world?
Well, it could be anything from, it could be a cultural thing, it could be, of course, substance abuse always plays a big role in that. It could be stress. Someone's out, you know, they're out of work, they have no money, they're stressed out, and they end up lashing out against a child. And then, of course, the flip side of that would be for, say, physical abuse. And of course, you have sexual abuse, where you just have someone's a pedophile and they're going to abuse kids.
As far as your experience as a social work grad up at HSU, encountering what you do in real life, how is that different from what you were taught to expect in the classroom?
Oh, there's quite a large difference. One of the biggest problems I saw was the cultural competency. The white people don't like to see different types of other cultures. It seems that we want everybody to adhere to our standards, and that isn't always the case. There are different cultural differences that need to be addressed, and my own personal belief is that in school you're not taught enough about that you can address that. One of the things I like about Baka is that we fill a role that I feel that is overlooked. By the time the kid gets into court, again, the perpetrator's found God. He's got his whole family there. You know, all of his supporters are on his side of the courtroom, and the poor kid's got maybe a social worker if they're lucky that's in there. And they've been dragging this off. And another one of the things I don't like is the fact that they drag all of these cases on and on through court. A 10-year-old girl is molested. By the time she gets to court, she's now 13. The difference between a 10-year-old child and a 13-year-old woman is a world of difference. And this is what the jury sees. They're looking at this young woman up there, they're not seeing a 10-year-old child. And I think that's a travesty. I don't think that should be.
So really the victim's right to a speedy trial isn't getting respected.
Oh, never. They drag it on and on and on. They get so many extensions. It's just amazing how long it takes to get through a court system.
And
we're there for the kids.
well, what's allowing that to happen? Is it just the usual lawyer tricks? Is it a shortage of judges, shortage of support in social services?
I think it's the attorneys, myself. They use every trick they can to drag things on and drag things on. You know, hoping maybe the child won't testify. By the time they get up, maybe they're so embarrassed they don't want to do it, so they won't get up to testify. And you have the right to face your accuser, and they use that right. It's really amazing how the court drags things on and on and on.
So when you say a child's brought into BACA, you really mean they become a member of your organization, and that's a long-lasting relationship that isn't just about escorting them to court, but really being almost as a big brother, big sister sort of relationship.
Yeah, it's not being brought into an organization, it's being brought into our family.
Gotcha.
And we treat them like they're family members. We give them road names. We come and see them. We take them for rides. If they need to talk to somebody, they can call us at any time. Well, we go and see them on their birthdays, and it really sounds strange, but we do 2 or 3 birthday parties for these children before they get through court. So we become an integral part of their family.
And what brought you guys into forming this local chapter and getting involved in this sort of work? Because obviously it's really emotional work. It's really tough to see kids in this sort of situation.
Well, I was brought to it by my brother. He was our founding president. I was the founding vice president. His wife was the founding treasurer. They heard about Baka. I hadn't heard about it. And they came to me one day and said, "Hey, look at this. We need to get involved in this." And my brother Bear decided he's something he wanted to do, so I got on board with him, and that's how it started.
I actually ran into his brother Bear, and he told me about Baka. He wrote down the website, said go check it out. They had some videos I could watch, explained what we were all about, and he invited me to a meeting. And I think I missed the first meeting that they had in Humboldt County, but I made the second, and I've been going to them ever since. We've been up here for about 6 years now, is it?
Yes.
That's about 6 years.
And has the chapter grown a lot over those years?
We fluctuate. We have approximately 13 patch members, I believe, right now, and then we have about another 5 or 6 supporters, people that ride with us, but they're not fully patched members.
And for folks in the local biker community who would want to get involved in this sort of work, what sort of training, what sort of education process do they go through to earn that patch and become a member?
Well, we ask that people come to a couple meetings, 2 or 3 meetings, for monthly meetings, and kind of try us on and see if they think they'll be a fit with us and if we'll be a fit with them. They're given a short application to fill out, and then they have to go down and get fingerprinted, and those fingerprints are sent off to the FBI and California Department of Justice, and then the results are sent to our state security officer, which is down in Sacramento. And what they're looking for is they're looking for any allegations of crimes against children. If you have any of that in your background, we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to have you come to our meetings. Assuming everything's okay, you'll get what we call a chuck patch, which is one of these little patches I have here on my right shoulder. That just means that you've been fingerprinted, checked out, and you're cleared to be around children. Once you have this, you're referred to as being a supporter. You have to maintain that supporter status for 1 year, completing a minimum of 80% participation in all of our events. And then after that 1 year's up, you can solicit to become a full patch member. And then we sit you down, we ask you some questions about why do you want to be a patch member, what your level of dedication is, and then we take a vote, and it requires 100% positive vote for someone to get patched in, and then you become a member.
That sounds like a group that operates by consensus then. You all make your decisions collectively.
Well, that's correct. To become a patch member, you have to be voted in by our chapter, and it has to be a unanimous vote for you to be a cast member. And that's just so we can get to know who the people are. You never can tell where the pedophiles are out there, the people that come around. So you want to know who you're with, because you don't want to trust a child to someone you don't know. And so we have them come around, and they party with us, they ride with us, and we get to know them fairly well before we ever let them get around children.
And yeah, that whole fingerprinting process sounds just like somebody who wants to be a school teacher or wants to work at a daycare center or any other sort of professional situation.
No, that's correct. But the only difference is if we don't care if you've robbed banks or what you've done, as long as you haven't harmed children. That's our big thing. And just because you've got something in your background that's a little shady, and in Humboldt County, it's hard to find somebody, other than perhaps a police officer, that hasn't smoked marijuana or been around it, or had done something that's wrong. So we are a fairly narrow side of what we kick people out for.
Right. And also, when those results come back in, we don't see them here. We just get a thumbs up or a thumbs down from our state security officer. So if someone has something in their past, unless they opt to tell us about it, we're not going to find out about it. Unless, of course, it's even if it was something that would disqualify them, we would just get a no from our state security officer. We do not actually see the results.
And that's to protect what privacy laws or confidentiality sort of thing, or
that is just how it's done. And that's not a Humboldt County thing. That's done everywhere throughout the nation with fingerprinting.
Gotcha. Now, as far as your interaction with law enforcement, obviously you're a former law enforcement officer, but law enforcement probably isn't too excited about the idea of a paramilitary organization. But it sounds like you try to develop a partnership with them, where if use of force is required, they'll be called in to solve that sort of situation.
Oh, absolutely. We have problems with law enforcement, mostly through ignorance, I think, on their part. They consider us an outlaw biker gang, and we are not. Because we have nothing to do with anything like that. But they can't seem to get past that the old mentality where you go out, spend $50, buy a motorcycle, become a biker, and now you're a gangster. That's something we fight with all the time with law enforcement. Fortunately, we have Mike, and there are a few other law enforcement people that understand where we're coming from. But it's a long, hard battle. And Mike is in law enforcement, got a lot of grief for it. And he stuck to his guns, which is really, really great. And hopefully maybe some of these other law enforcement officers will see what he did and how he stuck to his guns and understand that that's not us.
And also the relation that Bikers Against Child Abuse has with law enforcement kind of depends on where you're standing. In other states, in the Midwest, where BACA is really big, it started in Utah, so there's a higher concentration of chapters kind of towards the central part of the United States there. There's counties where BACA is on the required list of people to call if there's a case of abuse, where they actually work with law enforcement, they work with social services. Out here, like Frank said, we get looked at as an outlaw club, which is just absolutely ridiculous. If you know anything about outlaw motorcycle club culture, it's just laughable that anyone would think that. And we're a registered nonprofit, and we have an open door policy, so if anyone wants to come see what we're about, they can come to a meeting. We're not going to turn them away. Whether it be someone in law enforcement or just a general person in the community that wants to find out more about what we're doing.
And what more do you think can be done to try to bridge that gap with local law enforcement? I know I interviewed chief of police in this room just last week, interviewed the sheriff's candidates last year. Seemed like a pretty open sort of folks, so willing to talk to the community and bring changes about if necessary.
Well, there are a few that do that, but it seems that they're very narrow-minded about it. And if they just take a look at and see, one of the major things if they look at, they see is we have women members. No outlaw motorcycle club has women members. We encourage them to come to our meetings. They don't, but we encourage them to do so. When they had the task force up here, they had a gang task force up here, they put us up there right along with the Hells Angels. So it's just a matter of we want to get past that point. And so far, in my opinion, Humboldt County, we haven't got there yet.
No. We also, we're open to any make and model motorcycle. We're not just a Harley group or an American-made motorcycle group. You can ride whatever you want. No scooters.
Presents, exception, no scooters.
I think it's just going to take time. You know, you're just going to have to chip away at the relation that we have with law enforcement. And we're not, you mentioned paramilitary, we're not a paramilitary organization. Having worked for a paramilitary organization in law enforcement, which is, you know, we're not, we're actually very, very laid back. I'd like to think that we have a pretty high degree of personal integrity when it comes to dealing with these kids, and we do what we say. And one good thing about Bikers Against Child Abuse, as opposed to other social service groups, is that we don't have a lot of in our organization. We say we're going to do something, we go do it. You know, if we need to take a vote, we'll take a vote. If we're going to spend money on this or spend money on that, then we just go do it. We get on our bikes and go. Kid needs help, we're going to go. They don't have to fill out any paperwork. They don't have to go through a system. They don't have to wait for approval. We just go take care of it.
And it sounds like you guys do have a more of a working relationship with social services, with the social workers and the other folks who are dealing in more of a victim witness sort of capacity with the kids.
We have it's more on a personal level. There's some people there that we get along with, and there's some that we don't. If someone in social services wants to make a referral of a child to us, we'll take it. We just really try to do what we can to let people know that we're out there and that we're here to help.
All right, we'll be right back with part 2 of our interview with WR and Dawg, with the past president and president of Bikers Against Child Abuse, Humboldt County chapter.
Yeah, I have an Elvis one where I'm holding a little tiny guitar. Yeah. Another one with a cowboy outfit on. Oh yeah. My dad's taking, a photo shoot. Yeah. All right. 1974 photo shoot. Nice. And
All these things.
And we're back for round 2. Bikers Against Child Abuse. Thanks again for coming in, WR.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was just reading on your website about the levels of intervention involved in when Baka gets involved in the child's life. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we have levels 1, 2, and 3. We've actually never had a level 3 out here. That's where you have to actually physically go out and stay around a child's house. We've been out in front of the house on a level 2 where the child's been really afraid because they live in a trailer park and nearby was where the perpetrator was, and they were really scared. But most of our rides are level 1 rides. A level 1 ride is when we come out, we meet the child, and before we ever meet the child, our child liaison officer has gone through and has got everything going. We go out, we ride out to meet the child, meet the families, we adopt them into our family, we give them a big blanket that says Baka on it. We'll give them a night light so they don't have to be afraid at night. We introduce them to all of our members, and we're really careful when we meet children. We're pretty big, good size compared to most of the kids, so when we meet the kids, we take our hats off, we take our sunglasses off, we go down to our knees so we can meet the kids. We never try to, hug the kids or embrace them. No matter how sad you feel about their plight, you don't want to do that because they don't know who you are yet. So we want to get to know the kids. Quite often, the very first time they meet us, they're a little concerned about it. And in one of our cases, we were told men can't get near her, they can't be close to her at all. So we were really apprehensive when we first got there. By the third time that we were there, she was running around jumping on our bikes and giving us hugs, and she's just a wonderful young lady. So it's a process it takes, especially from level 1 to level 3. And like I said, we've never had a level 3. Hopefully we never will.
One of the things that we do have, each chapter of Bikers Against Child Abuse is required to have a therapist that will work with the group and can be there to answer questions. And we have a local woman who is, I don't know what her official title is, but she's
an LCSW.
That's a licensed clinical social worker?
Yes.
Okay.
And she counsels kids on a daily basis and she's there, we have questions about a child, we can go to her and she can help us understand what's going on. And also, she may actually know the child and she can sometimes provide us with a little bit of input, such as Frank was saying, where, hey, this young girl, young boy doesn't want to be touched, it's kind of standoffish, and so when we get there, we have an idea of what we're going to encounter.
Now, in terms of the interventions that you perform, you say you need the parents' permission, but sometimes it's the parents themselves that are involved in victimizing the child. How do you handle that sort of situation?
Well, we have to have a parent or guardian's permission, and normally, if it's a parent who is the abuser, normally the parents are no longer together, and the child is with the parent who is safe, and then that parent will allow us to adopt the child. And there's some cases where we have to say no. We've had people that have called us up and they wanted to use us as tools to get back at the other parent, maybe during a divorce, and we have to tell them no. We have had people call us and have wanted us to go out and snatch kids up and give them from one parent to give them to the other, or have wanted to use us to go intimidate somebody and go threaten them, and that's not what we're all about. If it's not in our mission statement, if it's not addressed in there, if it's not here to empower the children, then we're not going to go do it. And if someone wants to go out and threaten or harass or anything like that, they can go do it. They don't need us to go do it.
And we don't get involved in custody cases.
Right.
We won't simply get in there. That's not what we do. And our definition is very narrow. We're there to help children. They're in court. We're not a social services program. What we do is when the kids are in court, that's what they were there for. And we have to keep our focus in mind of what we're doing.
How would you say your organization is distinct from the mission of CASA then? Because it sounds like they do this sort of thing as far as helping the kids in court and making them feel safe and well represented.
Yeah, CASA does that, and they're a great organization. We're often trying to help them do it. The difference is, although sometimes the CASA will come up in court, they are always there, and we will always be there for our kids. It's going to be there. CASA has a little different point of view than what we have about it. Where CASA comes from, the kids are brought in there, they're interviewed there. We don't do those type of interviews that CASA helps with. We're actually there just for the child itself. We don't care what's happening outside of what's going on with them. We want to empower the child. And we're not trying to help the district attorney get along with their case. They're perfectly capable of doing all that themselves. We're there just for the child.
In your perspective as a professional, as well as a member of BACA, I know the DA over the years has come in for some criticism regarding their victim witness program, losing some of the grant funding involved with that. Do you think our local prosecutors are doing enough to help these kids?
Well, from my point of view, I always want them to do more. I
Right.
want them to be harsher. I want them to prosecute harder. That isn't always the case of what can happen. And I'm not an attorney. And I'm certainly not Paul Gallegos. And we know him. We have a really good working relationship with Paul. And I'm glad for that. I won't second guess what they're trying to do. Of course, with most bikers, my opinion is, you're spending thousands of dollars prosecuting these guys. Well, a quarter 45 round will take care of it. But Paul does his job, and I would never try to second guess what they're doing.
And some of the, not necessarily Paul, but some of his deputy DAs that are the ones that are actually prosecuting the cases, they have a lot of talent up there. And I won't say that I agree with every decision that comes out of that office. I won't say that I agree with every decision that's handed down by the courts, but all in all, I think they do a pretty good job. And kind of like Frank said, as far as I'm concerned, you can't punish a child abuser enough. As far as, we can take them up, if they're found guilty, we can go throw them off the roof of the courthouse, as far as I'm concerned. I think they're just a waste of space. There's no excuse for someone harming a child. There's definitely no excuse for someone harming a child sexually. That's just how I feel. It never be punished. As far as victim witness losing funding, if you look at the state of our national finances today, everyone's losing money. You look in the paper, they're talking about doing layoffs here in the county. We can't get a budget passed on the national level, can't get a budget passed on the state level on time. I think that we're doing the best with what we have. And I don't think that the men and women that work in those offices need to be criticized for it, because every year they're asked to do more with less. And they seem to get the job done.
Without getting too political, do you think there's a sense of misplaced priorities? We're spending a whole lot of money on foreign aid and foreign wars and bailouts of the banks and all this stuff, and meanwhile local needs are going unmet.
I do. I think that
Absolutely.
way too much being spent on, although the amount we spend on foreign aid is a lot less than what people think. I think that we're way overstepping our bounds being the policemen of the world. We spend too much money overseas. We don't take care of our own people. We need to do that. I'm not a policymaker. I would never want to be in that position. Yeah, they spend too much other places and they don't spend it here.
Well, I know the issues of abused children and defending kids' rights. I know that's become more of an issue in Humboldt County lately. They had a whole special debate between district attorney candidates. I think it was over at the Eureka Inn on these sort of issues. Is that something you're real happy to see, that these are becoming more high-profile political issues?
Oh yeah, I want it up in front. I want it to be foremost about what they think about. I want them to think about the children. I want them to, like Mike said, you can't prosecute these guys enough. Rock them. Just rock them. But we are under financial constraints, and that's well known. And I don't think any district attorney is going to be for child abuse. So asking about their debates and stuff, they're all going to be for prosecution, but how they can do it, that's their job. Not mine.
Thinking of what tools can be in their tool belt to deal with these situations, is it a matter merely that what we've been talking about, a lack of resources to fully staff these offices to go after these creeps? Or is it a matter of not having strong enough laws, some combination of the two?
I think that the laws we have on our books are just fine. It's my opinion, based on my experience working for the county, is you have a handful of deputy DAs that are up there that are handling a workload that is far beyond what they can stay on top of. So it just becomes I'm at a loss of words. It just, I don't want to say a revolving door, but the cases come in, they handle them as fast as they can and get rid of them, because they have 10 more cases that they're getting assigned that day that they have to prosecute. And it's the same with the defense attorneys, and it's actually the same for law enforcement. We're understaffed, the money's not there to hire people, and we become a reactionary agency instead of being proactive. Instead of going out and stopping it before it happens, we just pick up the pieces after everything is done. And what's the answer to that? You could say, well, we throw more money at it, hire more people. I don't claim to have all the answers. I can only speculate.
Be more proactive. How do you do that without, having a camera in every home or something?
Well, you can't really do that. With social workers, if you have a social worker that has 150 cases, he's overworked. You can't give the type of service that you need for that. But, like Mike said, throwing money at it doesn't always work. So I don't have a way to figure it out either. I think that you need more trained social workers, people that are more culturally competent, that are more in tune with what's going on in reality, rather than being set in their ways. And I know many people in social services are that way. As I'm working with them, I've seen that they're kind of narrow-minded and set in their ways, and they need to become more involved in what's going on. Humboldt State teaches perspectives, and I believe that's what you need to think of, is how everything affects everybody else. And if more people are doing that, I think we'd be better off.
You mentioned cultural competency. Obviously, we have some pretty far-flung communities, got some reservations way out there where there have been some pretty heinous incidents I know I've read about in the paper over the past few years. Is it mostly a Eureka, Arcata, Fortuna area where you've been working, or have you been getting out to some of those way out in the backwoods sort of places as well.
No, I've mostly been to Eureka, but when you get out in the outer woods and stuff, and you get in different cultures, the way things work in different cultures is not exactly the way the white guy always thinks it should be. And if you get a white person that's in there, and I worked for Two Feathers for a while, and I saw it often that it was where it's one of the social workers that come out and a couple of kids are being taken care of by a second aunt. Well, that's perfectly normal in their culture. Whereas the social workers think, well, mom and dad aren't here. Well, mom and dad maybe are out doing something else, but they're still being cared for by family. We just need more cultural competency of what's going on.
Now, you guys mentioned you're a nonprofit. Obviously, there is some resources involved in getting the support to these kids, materially and otherwise. What kind of fundraising efforts have you guys been up to in the community? You mentioned to me when I met you the other night about your poker run.
Right, we're actually really lucky. We have developed a relationship with Bear River Casino for the past 6 years, and during the month of April, it's Child Abuse Awareness Month, and they do a fundraiser for us where you donate $5 to Baka, they give you $10 in slot play. And we are able to make enough money from that to fund us for the entire year. And it's not a set amount. Some years we don't get as much as others, but we've been lucky enough that we've always gotten enough money to fund us for the entire year. And we do try to be frugal. We try to stretch our dollars, but we don't let that stop us from helping these kids. If a child, for instance, we had a day where we took all of our kids that we have in our Baka family bowling, and their parents and stuff were able to come, and a couple kids there needed shoes, they needed socks, their clothes didn't fit right, and the family was having a hard time providing that, and we had a quick 5-minute consultation with our board, and those kids were loaded up in the car and they were taken to Kmart and they were bought new clothes so that they could have proper fitting clothes when they go to school. They didn't have jackets, it was when it was storming, and we want to make sure that they were that their needs were being met. And that's, like I said, we don't have a lot of BS. We get to the chase and we get it done.
That's our only fundraiser of the year. We don't do anything else. Most of the time, our members pay expenses out of their own pockets. 99% of everything that we get that's donated to us goes to the kids. We don't have a large operating expense. We have a phone that we use. The kids can call us on all the time, and we have a mailbox, and that's it. We don't. And a lot of organizations are 401cs. They're really top heavy. Most of their money gets spent, with director salaries and all this stuff. And everything goes on. Well, that's not us. Like I said, 99% of it goes to the kids, and we aren't afraid to spend the money for the kids. We don't need money.
Now, it is a poker run, so there is an actual a run involved, an actual bike ride, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to meet at Kmart in McKinleyville this coming Sunday. You buy a poker hand. At the end of the run, you look at the poker hand. You see what it is: 2 aces or 3 kings, whatever you have. Whoever gets the high hand gets half the money we take in. Then after that we give a certain portion of that to our national, and then the rest of it goes to our own offers. But it's a lot of fun, and it's open to everybody who wants to come. All bikes will come, all peoples, all levels of riding, they're all encouraged to come.
Now, how do you guys interact with other, I don't want to say biker gangs because you're not a biker gang, but other bikers or organizations? I know, of course, Redwood Run's been an institution up here for a long time.
We get along great with all the other clubs and stuff. There's no problem with that. The outlaw clubs, we've only had one problem with one club, and it wasn't major. It was just there flexing their muscles and found out we wouldn't back down. But other than that, we have no problems with it at all. We get support from all. If you think about it, all these bikers have kids, and child abuse runs rampant all the way across our society. So it isn't something that they're not unfamiliar with. And what can you say about people that want to help kids? So we get support from all the bikers. We don't have a problem with it.
And we normally, locally here in Humboldt County, you have several riding clubs that are out there, and they support us and we support them. We all know people that ride with these other groups, and you know, they're going to have a poker run or a pool tournament or something, and we're going to go support them, and then they'll come out and support us. And we all have the common bond of liking to ride, and so we go do it. We go, you know, have fellowship with our brothers and have a good time.
And what is it, just getting personal for a minute, that attracted you guys to the whole biker lifestyle? What does that biker culture mean to you?
To me personally, you wanna know? I grew up in Richmond, California. I lived 2 blocks away from the Hells Angels Clubhouse. I used to walk by all the time to and from school. I used to shine spokes on their bikes for a ride, and they take me for a ride. That's how I got involved into it. I got my first Harley Davidson when I was 14. It was called Knucklehead. One of the guys there turned me on to it. So I've been riding all my life. I've never been a member of an outlaw club. That was never something I wanted to. I admire some of the guys that do, but it's never something that was personally for me. I just enjoy riding, and this gives me a way to give back to the community.
I started riding when I was 5 on little dirt bikes and worked my way up to the street bikes. Always, ever since high school, wanted a Harley. Love the bikes, love the sound. Old bikes, or old Harleys and new Harleys, don't care. I've always been drawn to the lifestyle, whether it's the clothes or the tattoos or the, you know, being out in the wind riding. It's my idea of heaven. And kind of like he said, I have no desire to be part of an outlaw club, or, you know, I don't care if people can do what they want to do. If they want to go join, more power to them. It's just not my thing. You know, it's funny, when I plan a vacation, my vacation is planned on how far can I ride before I have to turn around and come back. And that's, you know, literally. You come to my house, you got a map, I have a map of the United States on the wall, and I have highlighted all the roads I've been on, you know, on my trips. And it's, you know, my son, who's 19 now, he got his first bike when he just turned 17, and I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she wants a Harley too.
I was going to ask in particular, as a law enforcement officer, what kind of grief have you gotten mixing in biker culture, but also being part of you know, the Blue Shield culture, the law enforcement culture?
Well, I was always, when I was working, I was always up front. When I went somewhere, this is what I am, this is what I do for a living. I didn't want anyone to think that I was being undercover or anything like that. And from the motorcycle side of it, motorcycle club side of it, I got zero grief from anybody. From the law enforcement side, I was accused by other law enforcement officers of being dirty, being part of an outlaw club. Honestly, it pissed me off, because if you go look at everything I've done, I hadn't done anything wrong. I was being judged for how I looked and acting in a way that they didn't think that I should act. It wasn't illegal, it was just, you know, evidently they thought I should be wearing Dockers and polo shirts instead of, you know, old jeans and a t-shirt riding around on my bike. And I told them that if they wanted to catch me doing something wrong, more power to them, that they're going to have a real boring investigation, because there's nothing there. So really, honestly, it's left a bad taste in my mouth. And there's my friends that are still in law enforcement that know me, and they know what I'm all about.
And do you see Baka and just your involvement in biker culture in general, between the two of you, that and between all your group members, is trying to demystify biker culture and trying to break those stereotypes of the Hells Angels and the Mongols and all that sort of stuff?
That's not what we're about. It's not my job to break that myth. I like to see law enforcement think better of us, but you know what? I honestly don't care what anybody thinks about me. I could care less. When it comes to helping the kids, that's what I have in mind. Back on some of our sweatshirts or our t-shirts, you'll see it says, "It's not about me and it's not about you. It's all about the kids." That's exactly how I feel about it. I can care less what people think about me. You know, I want to be there to help the kids. Most of the guys that know me, that ride with the biker clubs and stuff, I can walk into a clubhouse and they know me by name. I have no problems with it. So I'm happy with the way things are. And I'm not going to try to convince anybody. The one thing I'm not is I am not a role model. I'm not a role model. I like everybody to understand that. I do what I do because this is what I want to do. And that's it. That's the only reason for it.
And so if people want to support Baka, how can they get involved? Can they send you guys donations in the mail or what have you?
Sure, absolutely. They can send donations in the mail. I would rather see them come to our meetings. I want to see them become involved. I want to. You don't have to have a motorcycle to be a supporter. To be a member of this chapter, you have to have a motorcycle. But anybody can be a supporter. I'd like to see, when we go to court, I would like to see the courtroom full of Baka supporters supporting a child that's been abused. I don't really care what their thoughts are about it. They can get money to us if they want to. That's fine. We always use the money. But I would much rather see them come support us. Come to our meetings. Our meetings are the third Wednesday of every month at the Veterans Hall downstairs. Starts at 6 o'clock is our meeting for our board meeting, and at 6:30 is our regular meeting. Come get involved. Come see what we're doing. I'd like to see more people, more enforcement. I want to see everybody there.
And that's Veterans Hall here in Eureka, right?
That's right.
Yes.
On 8th Street.
And has that been a fruitful relationship as well between Baka and the local veterans groups?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
They are so good to us. It's amazing. And a lot of our members and people with sports are veterans. I'm a veteran. I did 3 tours of Vietnam, 173rd Airborne. I love going down there and talking to those guys. They know what we're about and they understand us. It's a really good thing.
And have there been members of law enforcement who have let you know that they? I guess you kind of alluded to it earlier that there are some local men in blue that really appreciate the work you're doing.
Oh, sure, yeah, there's some. And if you go beyond Humboldt's borders, there are other law enforcement officers that are involved in Baka in other parts of the state as well as on the West Coast. Before heading to the east, I don't know too many people out there, but I do know that on the West Coast there are other law enforcement officers that are currently riding with Baka and wearing a back patch.
As far as some of these patches, JHAP, what does that stand for?
Jesus hates pedophiles.
Wow. And something else I noticed on your website I should have asked about earlier, that you're not only standing against child abusers here in our community, but you're standing up against child pornography, which is something that spreads over the electronic airwaves. It's something that floats around and people get busted for having that sort of filth on their computers or what have you.
Child pornography is just another form of child abuse. I mean, that's where the abusers get their kicks off of and get the jollies from. So it's just another form of it. Yeah, I'm against it. I think everybody else is too. Chapter.
And how do you combat that? I mean, you have a kind of a computer crime sort of.
No, we're not that involved. That's way beyond our capabilities. I can check my email and I can do things on the computer, but we aren't that tech savvy.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have the resources to do that.
That is something that's being looked at from beyond Humboldt County. It's not something we're directly involved with.
Because I know I've seen some local cases over the past couple of years of folks getting busted with stuff like that and obviously getting prosecuted for the fullest extent of the law. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the folks at home just about Baka, about defending these kids?
Just that if they have any questions to come to a meeting, go to the website. They will have email addresses there. They can contact their local chapter. And there's chapters all throughout the state. There's no chapters in Oregon. There are chapters up in Washington. But if this is seen by someone who doesn't live in Humboldt County and there's a local chapter, go check them out. You don't have to ride a Harley. You just have to ride to go become a member. And if you just want to be a supporter, you don't have to ride at all. You can just show up and be a supporter. But don't judge us when you see us going down the road. And you see our back patches. We're riding, more likely riding to go help a kid, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and it'd be really nice to get more people involved. If you know a child that's going through court, or if it's your child that's going through court and they're having problems, if they're having problems wanting to testify because they're afraid of these guys, give us a call. 707-498-9908. Give us a call. That's what we're here for. We can supply that little bit that maybe will make your child or whoever the child is that's going to court want to stand up there and testify. These children need to know that guys aren't all bad. And when we say we'll do something, we mean that. If we tell you we're going to come see you on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we're going to be there Sunday at 3 o'clock. If it's pouring rain, we're going to be there. It doesn't matter. If we tell your child we'll do something, we'll do something. These kids have had so many people tell them they'll do something and not do it. It's amazing. So give us a call. We're really willing to help.
And of course, that website is bakaworld.org.
It's yes, it is Baka World. Or they just changed it. Yes, bakaworld.org.
And I might also mention you guys helped out at Blue Ox Radio the other night, provided security at the Bayside Grange for the Blue Ox Radio fundraiser. I definitely want to thank you for that as well.
That was fun. That was really fun. There's some great bands there. We'd like to see more people there. Those bands are great. I had a great time there.
All right. Well, WR and Dawg, thank you so much for coming down to Has-Been today.
Thank you very much for having us.
Hi, this is Larry Jackson, Blue Ox Radio. We're down here, we're just cranking it out 24 hours a day for your enjoyment. And we sure hope you like what we're playing. We welcome your suggestions. If you want to get involved, that's good too. We can always use more volunteers. I'd like to thank the folks at Prometheus Radio for giving us a hand getting this station started. I mean, this is radio the way it used to be, probably the way it should be. Non-commercial, community-driven.